everyone, Lou here. If you're new here or just glanced at my YouTube banner, I love anime and video games. Why not combine that love again on my channel by talking about some manga and anime adaptations of video games? Now, bit of a disclaimer that I'm not gonna put every single video game adaptation here. Like, I've only played Street Fighter 2, so I don't think I'm exactly the right person to talk about the Street Fighter anime films, and I haven't even touched the Devil May Cry series yet, so I can't really do a review of the anime series here. Basically, I'm only going to be putting in games I've actually played, mostly because I know the fanbase for some games would probably burn me alive if I reviewed an anime or manga for a game that I haven't actually played. Now, let's get started. Pokemon Origins and Pokemon Generations. Now, Pokemon has had a lot of anime and manga adaptations, from the original manga that took a more dark but comedic route, the 90s adaptation that went on until a few years ago featuring Ash Ketchum, or Satoshi as he's known in Japan, and much, much more. The ones I'm putting here together is Pokemon The Origin and Pokemon Generations. The latter, I think, is kind of a companion piece to the other. I'll also be using the English dub names of Pokemon and characters, but trust me, I know Brock's original name is Takeshi, and Professor Oak is Dr. Yukinari Okido. So, this is a one-to-one adaptation of Pokemon Red, Blue, and Green. I say those and not Yellow because Yellow is fucking weird in that it's trying to be an adaptation of the anime instead, so you're stuck with a Pikachu that I don't even think you can evolve as your first Pokemon. I think that considering Red is a silent protagonist and the story for any Pokemon game that isn't black and white is pretty bare bones, all things considered, this wasn't a bad adaptation. Now, it's super rushed, don't get me wrong, like, this is a goddamn speed run of Pokemon Red or Blue, but it's not that bad either. It also forced Mega Evolution 2 because I think X and Y had kind of just come out when this anime released, so you gotta market Mega Evolution in X and Y somehow, right? It's kind of bullshit, but I guess it makes the final battle with Mewtwo and Charizard look just a little cooler, I guess. Though it does suck Mewtwo doesn't talk, but I get it. Mewtwo only talks in the anime continuity only, but you know, I can still want it even though it doesn't make sense, right? Another thing is that I think that Green isn't nearly as much of an asshole as he is in the original Game Boy game, and his counterpart Gary in the anime. I think that's kind of a negative, if only because I really miss when Pokemon rivals were just such fucking assholes like Silver or even Gladion. Still, it's not the worst Pokemon adaptation ever, and I actually really like it. It's a fun adaptation. Is it major nostalgia bait? Of course it is, but you know, we can all enjoy nostalgia bait. Next here is Pokemon Generations that highlight key moments in every Pokemon game, be it something mentioned only vaguely in a book somewhere, a past scene we were never shown in the game, or an iconic moment from every Pokemon generation up until Sun and Moon. They're also super short, so it makes enjoying them like a nice bite-sized nostalgia snack. Episodes range from every generation, from how Green beat the Elite Four, and actually made an attempt to stop the main villain, and my personal favorite, Cheryl and her Chansey exploring the abandoned mansion. Mostly because Pokemon Pearl was my first Pokemon game, so I hold a lot of nostalgia for it. I wasn't able to fully check it out, but I believe they did technically continue this by making Pokemon Evolutions for the 25th anniversary, featuring more famous moments like Barry training himself, which actually made me like Barry more than normal because I usually think he's fucking obnoxious. Overall, these are really fun, bite-sized, nostalgic anime for Pokemon, and I highly recommend them. Even the Origin anime is pretty short at only 4 episodes, so these are just fun if you want to have a nice time just soaking in your love of Pokemon like I do from time to time. Brotherhood, Final Fantasy 15. I consider this an adaptation solely because there are some scenes in these episodes brought up in the game and DLCs, so I say personally that it's a major companion piece. Now, Final Fantasy 15 is an oddball in Square Enix's lineup of Final Fantasy games. While Final Fantasy 13 suffered from the entire story being told through menus, Final Fantasy 14 Online was so bad they had to make an in-lore apocalypse just to fucking reboot the thing so the story could be actually critically acclaimed like it is now, and Final Fantasy 16 spoiled way too much of the story in its trailers. Final Fantasy 15 is in this weird spot for the series about extremely close friendships that it's like one big family. The most important demonstration of that friendship is somehow portrayed in an anime. Except Prompto's DLC and Hangout events do heavily reference his episode, but it's still weird that if you technically wanted the full Final Fantasy 15 experience, you'd have to watch an anime and a movie before you play the game. Okay, so basically each episode, aside from the OVA that comes with the Blu-ray release and episode 5, covers Noctis and his friendship with the Chocobros. Some are how they met, like Prompto, and others are what sparked them to become closer, like Gladiolus. Then you have Cooking Mama Ignis, and it just shows how deep his friendship with Noctis goes. The last episode covers Noctis's relationship with his dad just a little. Basically, like, Noctis got involved in a monster attack on his way home from something, and his dad protected him and stayed by his side the entire time while he was unconscious. It's sweet. I like snippets like this that show just how much King Regis really loved his son. The last OVA is for episode Arden in particular, and just covers what we honestly should have seen in the DLC, but we didn't for some reason. These are all with the original Japanese voice actors, by the way, because for some reason this never received an English dub, which sucks, if only because I actually really love the dub cast for 15, even if people complain Ray Chase's voice as Noctis is too deep or whatever. I mean, overall, I actually really like this anime, and I love the art style in particular, but I get why people are mixed about it, because we shouldn't have to watch a separate medium to better grasp our Chocobros. Still, I really like it, and I love Final Fantasy 15, so maybe I'm just really biased here. Persona 5 the animation and Persona 5 the manga. I love Persona 5. Ever since I watched the anime and later played the game in 2019, I've completely adored this cast of Phantom Thieves with all my heart. I would add Persona 4 here too, but I just beat Golden, so I haven't had time to watch the anime for it yet, so maybe if people like this enough and watch this enough, maybe a part 2? Anyway. Like any Persona game by Atlus that isn't Persona 1 and 2, because I guess they hate those games for some reason, this was milked all to fucking hell until it bled. Hell, they're still milking the shit out of Persona 5 to this day. Watch as I say this, they announce something insane like Joker and Honkai Star Rail or Persona songs in Project Sekai. Now, Persona 5's adaptations are still very weird though. I say weird because Persona 5's manga took forever to get a translation out, and Persona 5's anime really leaves a lot to be desired. Like, Persona 5's manga, when it was originally released, had a fan translation like most manga not released yet do, and the team just randomly disbanded after Yusuke's introduction chapter, so I personally had to wait a long time before I could continue reading the manga for myself, and to get my favorite character Yusuke's introduction. The manga and anime also have completely different names for the protagonist, and sadly the anime won the name decision by the fandom because Ren Amamiya is the name Atlus picked for the dancing game and some other side Persona 5 material. While the manga's name is Akira Kurusu, which I actually personally prefer, so I'll be calling the protagonist Akira for the remainder of this video. Now, Persona 4's anime adaptations were both pretty well received, all things considered, when Persona games are pretty lengthy, but Persona 5's adaptation is either mixed or downright hated by fans. Me, it was my introduction to the Persona series, so I'm gonna be honest that I'm really biased here, but I mean, sitting down and playing the game myself, it honestly isn't terrible. Like, yes, it is absolutely rushed and the animation can look bad, and a lot of side stories were cut, but I think as a TLDR of the main story, it's not half bad. If you want to know Persona 5 but don't want to play an hours-long game and just want a TLDR of the main story with little to no side stories, it's not bad. Except they kept Yusuke's confidant quest because Yusuke is the best character and I will fight people on that. Unlike the Chad King of Riz, Yu Narukami, or the King of Depression and Death, Makoto Yuki, Akira Kurusu in the anime is somehow exactly like the game, where he has little to no personality except for a hint of Riz when he's in the metaverse. It's just weird, because most anime will adapt a silent protagonist and give them a personality, because obviously we can't superimpose on a series we can't tick options for or anything, so weird to keep him silent like that. While in the manga, Akira is a bit awkward but has some confidence coming into him, making the Persona manga have this more coming-of-age theme to it, like the games usually have somewhere in there. The downside of the manga is the art style is often kinda meh. Like, it's not an ugly style, but I don't know how to describe it, but it's just not an art style very fitting for the Persona games. If it were up to me, I would have chosen the artist for the Mementos Memory side stories because that art style is literal perfection for a Persona 5 manga, but that's just me. Well, I can't recommend the anime to everyone because it's missing a lot, but if you want to know the characters more, I can recommend the manga at least because it is a slow pace than the anime, but I think it does a good enough job even if it is also missing certain side stories. Granted, I'm not finished with the manga, but I think by volume 6 or 7 you tend to know if it's a good adaptation of something, right? Onigiri. Have you ever heard of onigiri? No? Consider yourself a lucky bastard. Onigiri was a game I got into for a while when browsing the PS4 store and saw it was free that didn't require a PlayStation Plus account to play, so I gave it a shot. It's an MMO where you go around defeating demons and yokai with pretty girls and guys, but only the girls have voice acting because fan service. It's an okay game. I can only really recommend it if you want to learn how to play an MMORPG before going into games that require actual strategy and thought like Elder Scrolls Online or Final Fantasy XIV. That said, there was an anime adaptation, but instead of telling what little story the game had, it's just goofy side stuff with all the female characters, one of which is Ibaraki Doji, who makes me cringe every fucking time she's on screen because of her messy and just heavy fan service design and voice. Like, she's just one big no for me. I guess if you want to see a cringe train wreck, play Onigiri and watch its cringe companion anime. It's also got an English dub by Sentai Filmworks, and if you've seen my channel before, you know how I feel about Sentai Filmworks dubs 9 out of 10 times. Before I get to the end, here's some honorable mentions. These are quick reviews of ones I haven't talked about yet, haven't entirely played the original game, or ones that haven't even released yet. Dramatical Murder. Look, I love Dramatical Murder to this day. This Sonic the Hedgehog looking son of a bitch has my heart, and I may be cringe for loving Dramatical Murder in 2024, but I am free, damn it. Plus, I mean, hey, this channel started because I wanted to share my stupid Dramatical Murder videos for fun as a teenager on Tumblr. So hey, without this, then there wouldn't even be a channel today, probably. That said, the anime is dog shit, and you've all probably seen me destroy this anime multiple times, especially its horrible English dub. My gosh. Omori. It's not out yet at the time of me making this video, unfortunately, but let me tell you guys, I am hyped as shit for the Omori manga. I'm gonna do a big review for it on my channel because Omori is one of my favorite games, but Omocat released a teaser for the manga's first page, and I am so here for it. It's funny how Omori was originally meant to be a comic, turned into a video game, and now we're back at full circle with a manga for it. Now to the grand finale of this video. Legend of Zelda manga series. The Legend of Zelda, along with Omori and Silent Hill, is one of my favorite video game franchises. I love this series about some kid named Link going around saving Hyrule or somewhere else in a long-ass bullshit timeline no one could figure out. That said, there's a manga series for several Zelda games. There's one for Wind Waker, Minish Cap, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Skyward Sword, and even A Link to the Past. Surprisingly enough, each manga was made by the female duo Akira Himekawa. It just shocks me these girls are really good at creating different styles for each one, from the late 80s artist influence of A Link to the Past, Wind Waker's cutesy chibi art style, to an extremely close recreation of Twilight Princess's art style. Each game also has a vastly different tone. Wind Waker, for instance, takes a more comedic route, while Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess take a more serious approach. Twilight Princess in particular is already a damn dark game with genocide mentioned in the story, since like, all the Gerudos were killed in Hyrule. That said, I wasn't able to read every manga. Some of them I looked at from my local bookstore, while others I tried to find online, and well, finding them online is pretty damn hard if you're not the type to read physical manga. That said, the Legend of Zelda manga are an amazing alternative if you're not someone who's good at Zelda gameplay. I mean, let's be real, some Zelda games are not for everyone when not all of us are good at things like combat or puzzles. Specifically combat because I'm an aggressive fighter in games, so I have a hard time sitting still and analyzing movements as a fighter, so I'm really bad at older Zelda games like the original and A Link to the Past. Anyway, I hope you guys all love these and give them a chance, be it for the love of pure cringe, because who doesn't love cringe, or just to enjoy something surprisingly well made. You guys let me know down below what you think, and if you want a part 2. I probably won't make a part 2 for a while, because I do have some games to play eventually, like Bayonetta, Cyberpunk 2077, the Fate series, and even Shenmue, because I hate myself, I guess. What do you guys think of these anime or manga? Are any of these your favorite? As always, let me know down below. Hey guys, thanks for watching! If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new. If any of you would like to help support my channel in any possible way, my Ko-fi page is down below in the description, along with all of my social media. For any subscribers, new or old, who'd like to help with video ideas, or maybe just want to talk about anime or something, I have a fan server link down below. See you next time!